Be like Batman.
All right, all right. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dirt Diamond Sports Talk here on a Tuesday with my man Wally. As always, Wally, what's kicking, brother?
That's a good weekend. Fun weekend. I hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend. We had we had dueling sports with baseball and college football really kicking
Yeah,
off well.
yeah.
Um, do you have a interest in any of the college teams this weekend?
So I I spent a little bit of time at Texas Tech, but I got my culinary degrees. And I didn't really do outside of my short period of time at Texas Tech. I didn't really do like big university
Hmm.
college education, I guess you could say. So I don't really have a whole lot of loyalty I mean, I love college football. I love the spectacle of the sport, but I don't have a ton of allegiance or loyalty to a specific school. So, I mean, my wife went to U of H. She got her undergrad there, and she's doing her grad work at Rice. Not two real big
She stepped up. She
college
stepped up in
football
class, didn't she?
powerhouses. So,
She stepped up, didn't she? Going from UH to Rice.
oh yeah, oh for sure, yeah, doing her grad work at Rice. That's huge. And of course, I outkicked my coverage with her for sure. But it's yeah, I'm not super
Yeah.
I don't have a whole big of allegiance to any specific school. So,
But then
but
there
you
was
do,
baseball.
you
Oh
do.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I went to the University of Texas and uh, kind of funny because my granddaddy taught at A&M for 40 years and had some pretty significant positions out there. And then my sisters and I all went to UT. And then for my graduate work, I went to the University of Miami. And so I was there when the U was the U and set 89 and 90. And so there were a lot of fun nights spent in the Orange Bowl when the UM was number one.
Oh yeah, I bet. I bet. I can't. I mean, I can't imagine because I've been to some big games and I've been to some of the really big stadiums. But being there all the time and experiencing that and having that become just part of your life and a regular thing. Uh, yeah, I'm sure that was amazing. I'm sure that was
Yeah, the
amazing,
89.
especially the time that you were there. That was heyday.
Oh, yeah, the 89 Notre Dame Miami game was amazing. If people get a chance to go YouTube 3rd and 43 Miami against Notre Dame. We were there and it would just, the stadium just blew up. It was great. The
Oh, I'm
Orange Bowl
sure.
was the best.
I'm
It was
sure.
just a great college football stadium.
I'm sure. Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy cool. Well, this is a baseball podcast. I guess.
It'll eventually get there.
Maybe we should get into that a little bit. The Astros had a 4-game series with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Um, I think after the first game of the series, you had predicted the Astros would burn one. I predicted a sweep. We were both wrong. The Astros split the series outside of last night's game. The bats stayed a little quiet, Wally.
Right. They had a 645 OPS for the series, which will lose you a lot of games.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, 8 for 40 with runners in scoring position. And that's a 200 average, but that's really masking the fact that there were 6 for 15 last night. So go 2 for 25 and do that math and see what it gets you. It's not very good.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of a microcosm of the whole season that the Astros have had. When you look at their average, it's 253, which is the top 4 or 5 in Major League Baseball. But as far as the slug, it's just it's terrible. They're
Yeah.
not scoring. They're
Well, I mean,
scoring.
that's the thing right there. Right. I
Yep.
mean, that's the thing right there. We're putting men on base. But this over with runners in scoring position has really become the Achilles heel of this team.
Yeah, it really has. So give you a quick look as the Astros are sixth in average. Okay. Think about that. They are sixth in average and they're 23rd in Major League Baseball in scoring
Mm,
runs. They've scored the Yankees, who they're going to play starting tonight, have scored about 140 more runs than the Astros. So they're scoring a run more a game. Now, you get inside those numbers, the Yankees hit home runs. You know, we'll talk a little bit more about where they break down in stats, but they hit home runs. The Astros, as far as, as their OPS, they're 13th. Their slug is 16th. And like we were talking about earlier, their runners in scoring position this year as compared to last year, and the last couple of years, is quite a bit down. Last year they hit about 265 with runners in scoring position, 255 with runners in scoring position, 256. Now they're hitting 245. Little things
hmm
here and there. We talked about it in the uh, last show or two, is that the lineup just isn't what it once was, and that's just going to have to be rebuilt.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think that timely hitting is obviously a big thing. I mean, these guys have had the bases loaded with nobody out and couldn't score a run. Yesterday, it seemed as though some things kind of really came together. For whatever reason, Altuve said it in the post game interview. He said, sometimes you just have to grind through those hard ones where nothing seems to fall your way. And then you have that day where everything seems to come together. They seem to have maybe had one of those days yesterday. Luis Garcia's triumphant return.
Isn't it great?
What a day for Luis Garcia. Yeah, that was, I mean, that really was a pretty amazing return coming off of Tommy John. I mean, the last time he pitched was literally almost 2 years to the day.
It was 28 months ago. You think about it,
Oh, it was that much
he,
further. Okay, I had
oh
the
yeah,
date wrong then.
he was out early. Like he and Urquidy got hurt with like one day apart.
Mm-hmm.
Like either one of them, I forgot which one got
Oh, it
hurt,
was
but it's
28
literally
months. Yep. You said
yeah,
it.
it
You're
was
right. Yeah.
literally two consecutive days that we lost two guys to Tommy John surgery, and Garcia comes back. He had that one hiccup, a couple of hiccups where he gave up 3 runs, but you know his pitch count was fantastic and had 79 pitches, 52 strikes. Uh, we talked, you and I talked about this offline, that this is the kind of number we'd like to see Hunter Brown do.
Mm-hmm.
You can get, if Garcia's built up more, he goes 7, maybe 8.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes it's not how hard you throw; it's can you change speeds? Can you limit the number of pitches per at bat?
Yep.
It's not all. The one thing for sure about a strikeout is you had to throw at least 3 pitches. Just
Well,
by
that's for sure. I
definition,
think,
you had to throw at least 3 pitches.
yeah. Well, one thing that we noticed that Luis Garcia did was he attacked the zone early,
Yep,
right? He worked the counts to his favor, and he used his off-speed stuff as his finishing pitch.
right.
And so, he generated 8 whiffs on 40 swings in a 79 pitch outing, right? One of the things, and we talked about this when we discussed El Raptillo, was average exit velocity, right? So Luis Garcia had an average exit velocity when contact was made of 85.6 miles per hour. So one thing that we have seen with both Christian Javier and Luis Garcia coming back is that somehow or another they have. Well, I say somehow or another. I mean, we know if we break it all down and we look at exactly what has come together here is the the theory and the process that they are going through in coming back, and um, the way that they decided to throw their games all but eliminated the hard hit ball.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
It's
this
like,
is really interesting when you look at the difference between how these guys have come back from injury, and you call it what it is, or whatever you want to call it, protecting the protecting the shoulder, being trying to be efficient, looking at the game from a different perspective because bro, you were almost gone.
yeah.
And so now you're really focused and coming at it from a different angle. But both of these guys have come back from this. One being very efficient, being very effective, but not a single hard hit ball off of either of those guys.
No, it's like they get it just enough horizontal movement to get it off the barrel.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
one of the things we talked about Javier and especially is he's come up with different pitches. So when guys are used to be sitting on the high fastball and trying to look for one off speed pitch they can hit, now they got to look at two or three. Javier's come up with the sweeper, which he didn't have before, and his change looked pretty good. And Garcia just looked like he is hitting his spots. He was in his rocking chair.
Yep. Yep. I think that one of the other things that I noticed, and when I was kind of running some cybermetrics here, uh, Luis Garcia maintained an average spin rate on his four seamer of 2380 RPM
Okay.
with sharp movement anywhere between the 8 and 14-inch baseline. And so when you're looking at that, and this is the guy that's just come back from surgery, right? So the decline in his average velocity, you brought that up. I think that we're going to be able to see him bring that velocity back. Started off with about 93 was the average early in the game, fell to about 90 later in the game. One specific pitch that everybody was talking about here in some of the conversations that we're looking at was the four seamer to Mike Trout.
Hmm.
That was the 91.4 mile an hour four seamer with a 2380 RPM spin rate. So what this shows is that in a lot of cases, guys, when they come back from those injuries, velocity, sometimes they can come back and they can throw velocity, right? We saw when Verlander came back, his velocity wasn't really that effective when he finally made it back to major league, the major league field. His velocity was fine. It was his spin rate that suffered. He figured out how to work through that because he, you know, had a Cy Young year season.
He's Justin
He had a
Verlander.
Cy
He
Young
does these
season coming
things.
off of Tommy John surgery. But typically, when you get these guys that come back from these types of injuries, the thing is that they can't they don't have the flexibility,
Don't have
right?
the torque.
They can get the velocity, but like you said, the torque and the flexibility of being able to get that spin rate. Um, Luis Garcia didn't have a problem with that last night, hitting 2380 RPMs
What
on his four seamer.
what is the average spin rate? Just off
Well,
the top of
so
your
you
head.
can say average, but so typically on a four seamer like that, what you end up seeing is about 2000 to 2100. And that can go all the way up to some of the elite guys will hit 25, 2600 RPMs.
And so you don't get the perceived drop that the guys are going to get because you've got all that extra friction
Correct.
keeping the ball elevated.
Yep.
Kind
Yep.
of like when
And
people
so,
throw a wiffle ball, when you throw a wiffle ball and you can literally see it go up. You
yes,
won't get that with a baseball, but it's going to seem so.
right. Yep, exactly. And that's where the sharp movement comes in, right? Because the faster the RPMs, the more that ball will just travel straight. And then right before it gets, that's where the sharp movement comes from, right? Because
Yeah.
then it starts to slow down right before it gets there to the plate. So that's when it's that sharp movement on those balls. So um location maps looked really great for Luis Garcia.
Yeah,
So
sure did.
everything really came together: his effectiveness, his efficiency, velocity, RPM, everything just kind of indicates that Luis Garcia is back, baby.
Well, it's what's funny. I was just thinking about is we've talked about the wide disparity of when pitchers come back from injuries. And we've seen it on this staff, for different reasons, but you've had McCullers doesn't have the velocity, is at that flexor tendon and a Tommy John. And he's had to completely reinvent himself as a different kind of pitcher. He doesn't have 96, 97 anymore.
Yep.
Javier is a little slower, a little slower than Garcia, but he's ramping up. And I'd say Javier is kind of a normal sort of progression. And Garcia is ahead of the curve. And then Arrighetti, combination of a young pitcher having a different kind of injury and probably throwing really spring training ball. Here we are in August and September. You're seeing him ramp up, and you've seen Arrighetti get a little better and a little better with every start. Now we get to see if these guys can handle the playoff pressure, because it's, you've got Seattle, who's been given, like we said, given the Astros every chance to take, or Astros have given Seattle every chance to take this, and they just don't do it. But for people who are standing watchers, if you take a look, Seattle's closer to third than they are to first right now.
Yep.
3 games out of the behind the Astros, but only a game and a half ahead of the Rangers, who are on a real heater. They've lost Simeon, they've lost Eovaldi, they've lost the shortstop. What's that shortstop's name? I just had a blank.
Didn't you say Simeon?
Simeon's out. The shortstop, Seager's out with a
Seager. Sorry, there you go.
Seager's out with an appendectomy. They think he'll be out in a couple weeks, but they've still won 9 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
There is a world that exists that the Rangers make the playoffs and the Mariners don't. There's also a world exists where the Mariners and the Rangers make the playoffs and the Astros don't.
Right.
5 games is a lot to make up in 4 weeks. I mean, I can always work on the idea of overtime. If you have to make up more than a game a week, you're in trouble.
Yep.
Yep. And I think the Astros, with the pitching coming back, they'll be able to tandem starters if they need to cover up weaknesses that the 6th, 7th, and 8th guys might have. Now that we've got really only one true closer, which is Abreu, although Caleb Ort looked awfully good the other night.
Caleb did look awfully good the other night. Yeah, he sure did. He sure did. I think that when you're looking ahead, you and I have said it, and I just kind of posted it there in the little Chiron. These next 6 games really are going to be are going to really set up the rest of the run here at the end of September.
Yeah. They've got a chance to put the Rangers to sleep.
Yep.
But then again, the Rangers and the Astros have been really close this year. I think there's a 1-game difference in the season series. The Yankees are coming in hot. But the thing with the Yankees, if you can keep them from hitting home runs, you can beat the Yankees. When you look at the Yankees, they are wrote some things down. They're 12th in average. They're first in runs and first in home runs. They fundamentally, they're terrible. If you keep from striking out, put the ball in play, that's a team that I would put pressure on and make the Yankees make plays, because when the Yankees have to throw the ball around, really bad things happen for the Yankees, good for the other team. Did you see that play a week or 2 ago where Volpe was throwing to second base and then Chisholm wasn't there?
Oh yeah. That was
just like McFly. Anybody home?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's the Yankees. We've talked about it here before. Nobody understands what's going on up there, and what those guys have going on, and mentally, how do you even play for that team right now? They've been hot. They've been doing their thing, but there doesn't seem to be any sort of consistency. There doesn't seem to be any sort of cohesiveness in that team. It's just a royal mess.
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna revise my previous I'm going to revise my previous statement and say it's not just the next six; it's the next nine that really matter for the Astros. Um, three Yankees, three Rangers, three against the Blue Jays. So this really could these next nine games really could change the way that the Astros enter the postseason and where they stand in the postseason and how that plays out. Because I mean, you're not only playing nine games against AL teams, but the way that those Yankees and Blue Jays are playing out, you really could affect where you enter the playoffs and the standings and whether or not you know you get a bye or you're playing a wild card game.
Yeah, that's good time to go through the remaining schedule. If the Astros have the Yankees at the Rangers at the Blue Jays. So, between those teams all have over 70 wins. Then
Hmm.
you go to Atlanta, which is, you're on the road, but Atlanta is showing signs of throwing up the white flag. Back the Rangers
Yep.
at home, Seattle at home, then to the Athletics and to the Angels. Now, we
Yep.
saw what the Athletics did to the Astros, but that's a team that's 10 or 11 under 500, so you
Hmm.
should win.
Yes.
Uh, Mariners have been dreadful on the road, so they still got Tampa, they've got Atlanta, and they still have Kansas City and the Astros on the road. Um, you know, the Royals still have a chance of making the playoffs, so we'll see what they have to play for.
Yep.
Uh, the interesting is they closed with the biggest dichotomy of anybody in Major League. They closed with the Rockies and the Dodgers at home. Now they're really good at home.
Yep.
Um, so that could be interesting. Rangers, they have to stay hot. If the Astros can just go, if the Astros go 3 or 4 over 500, it's really almost impossible for the Rangers to catch them.
It really is. Well, and when you really look at this, I mean, it's the AL East that's going to play, that's going to that's going to play spoiler
Yep.
for either the Mariners or the Rangers. It's going to be the Yankees or the Red Sox. Yeah, I talked about the Royals, but it's going to end up being Yankees and Red Sox who are going to end up playing spoiler when it comes to the Mariners or the Rangers getting into the
Yeah.
playoffs. Period. The
Right.
Royals, yeah, they have a pretty good, favorable schedule coming up for them as well. So they could pick up a couple of games in there and make some hay, but it's going to be an it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks, my man.
Yeah. Now the
It
Rangers, if they
really
do
is.
it, they'll have earned it because they finish up with the Diamondbacks. Unfortunately, the Diamondbacks did not take a bear of business last night. They've got the Astros Brewers at the Mets, back at the Astros before they finish with a pretty manageable Marlins Twins and at the Guardians.
Yep.
But they've got the same sort of gauntlet the Astros have to go through.
Yep.
Milwaukee's really good. And they're
Yeah,
so fun to
that's going to be
watch.
tough. But man, that's a
That
team. It's still, it just amazes me how just underappreciated that team is. You just don't hear a lot of people still talking about the Brewers, even after everything that
no,
they've been doing.
no. Just do you see the game against the Phillies
I saw the
last night?
highlights. I saw some highlights.
I mean, just when you think they're dead, they come and
It's
just when you think they're
it's
dead, they
insane.
come up and put a couple in. We were watching a little bit of it yesterday uh, before dinner, and it was just like, oh my gosh, they're going to lose this game. And then, of course, they come back, and even though the Phillies came back and won 10-8, the Brewers just didn't quit.
Yeah. What about the NL? There's the potential that the Los Angeles Dodgers could enter the playoffs as a freaking National League wild card, Wally.
Do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah,
Yeah, I just think they're going to hold the Padres off.
can I secretly say I'm praying for it to happen? No, I just
Oh yeah, of course, it'd be
no,
wonderful.
I
It'd
mean
be glorious.
I think you're right. I think they probably end up holding off the Padres for sure. 2.5 games. I think the Dodgers Padres is kind of the mirror of the Astros Mariners in the American League. And
I
so
think you're right.
I think the Dodgers end up pulling it off. I think the Padres well, I mean, now they're down their all-star reliever after that knee injury or whatever it was that happened
Yeah. So
last
what
night. I mean, he
happened to
just
Jason Adams?
collapsed. He just I didn't hear exactly what it was. But he just collapsed after throwing a
Oh,
pitch.
that's
And I
terrible.
think his had to have been ACL, MCL, something like that. He just collapsed. He just blew out his
He
knee.
just
It
took
looked
a
like
pitch, just took a pitch and fell.
he threw a pitch and fell. He didn't take it.
Yeah. Whew.
It
I
didn't
mean,
hit
threw a
him,
pitch
but
and fell.
he threw it and then he collapsed. So my guess is, yeah, MCL, ACL, something like that. He went down.
Yeah.
So
You know, you know
that's
what
not
else is,
helpful.
yeah. What else is weird is you look at, when we're talking about different leagues, you said we're kind of jumping around a little bit. When you look at the run differences between the AL West and the NL West, the Astros have a 20 plus 20, the Mariners are plus 17, Rangers plus 94. Now the Astros are skewed because they had that one stretch where they lost like 60 runs,
Yeah.
but the Dodgers have 101 run difference, and the Padres are 54.
Mm,
So yeah, that's when you start talking about stats and use stats for what you want to use them for.
right. Yeah. Yeah, the National League's going to play out very interesting. It'll be fun to see what happens there. Padres, Cubs, Mets. I'm not sure how I feel about the Mets. You'll watch them for a
Mets are the
couple of
Mets.
days and think these guys are going to actually pull it off and their talent's going to actually play to the level that it should. And then there's those couple of games where it's the Mets are going to Met, right?
Yeah, in their own little way, they're kind of like the Yankees in different ways. Just about the time you think um, Yankees are going to run off and hide, they revert to little league infield,
Yeah,
and then and then
yeah,
the Mets. You think they're going to do well, then their pitching falls apart.
yeah.
Speaking of the Yankees, I want to spend a little bit and go through some of the matchups we got
Hmm.
for the week. The Yankees matchups are kind of pretty interesting. You've got Fromber and Max Fried tonight. Now the Astros got Max Fried earlier this season, and they've hit about
Yes.
little under 300, 299 against him this year. Now the Yankees have hit Fromber well. They've got a
Hmm.
300, 438, 829 slash against Fromber. Let's see which Fromber shows up because we really need a good Fromber to show up. Um, Guys who've hit well against Fried, Altuve's got Altuve. Interestingly enough, Jesus Sanchez has hit really well against Fried,
He has.
and then
Yep, I
and then
saw that.
Christian Walker has done well against Fried. He's seen Fried. Now Altuve's got 11 at bats, Sanchez 13, and Walker 16. So then you get Will Warren, the second second game. Really haven't seen much of Warren. Then we get Rodon, who's our favorite guy to beat because of what he said against the Astros. He needs to shut his mouth.
Yep.
And Altuve's done okay against him. Correa's done okay against him. Pena's done okay against him. You know, they've hit 260 against him. And, the guys have done okay, not great. There have been times when Rodon has looked great against the Astros, and there's other times where the Astros have lit him up. One thing I found also kind of interesting in the different kinds of pitchers we have is you've got a Fried that throws literally just a little bit of everything. The thing he
Hmm.
throws the most of is a cutter, 30%. Everything else is smattered in. Then you go to Rodon, which is a classic four seam slider change guy trying to tunnel everything out of the same release point and get the Astros to not be able to guess on the speed.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, I think the two key games here are the bookends. I think tonight's game and and the third game against Rodon. I think those are going to end up being the two games that really are what we need to look out for. and I hope that these guys really kind of pull it off. Will Warren, I think they can. I think they can touch him. I think that that's kind of a game that the Astros will win, even though we don't know who's throwing for us that day. And that may be one of those tandem days, or it may be
I've
a
got Jason
AJ
Alexander.
blue ball. You got Jason
Uh,
Alexander. That's probably a good
I got
idea.
Jason
Yeah,
Alexander.
that's probably close to. I was going to say him or blue ball.
The importance of the game tonight is the Astros look like they took a kind of collective sigh yesterday after scoring 8 runs. If
Hmm.
they go back to not being able to hit, you could see this team tighten up and lose all 3 of them. But if they can relax, take at bats, if they can swing at the right pitches. You and I've gone back and forth on DS, and I still have visions of him against the Angels in the first game they won when he's swinging in that two-seamer off the plate and hits into a 5-3 double play.
Yep.
You know, you don't have to swing at the first pitch. That's why they give you 3 strikes.
Right.
Swing at the
Yep.
right strike.
Well, I think that
If
I
it's
think
if it's oh if
the
it's
thing
0
that
and
the
2,
Astros. Go ahead.
yeah, if it's 0 and 2, you got to swing at that pitch.
Yes. Yep.
If it's 0 and
Well, the
0,
thing the
let it
Astros
go.
have
You've
going
got 2
for
more
them is
chances.
these are Yankees at home, and so you're gonna have the crowd into it. These are gonna be really, these are gonna be really high energy games, and I'm not gonna say much. I'm not gonna say must win, um, but I
They're
I
they're all
really
must
feel
win
that
now.
you have to take this series from the Yankees.
Yeah, you do. You really do, because then you go to the Rangers and you get Merrill Kelly, DeGrom, and Patrick Corbin.
Yep.
We remember what Patrick Corbin did us against 2019. It's not the same Patrick Corbin as it'll be the last game of the series, but Merrill Kelly solid and Jacob DeGrom is Jacob DeGrom. They've only hit 179 against Kelly and only at 175 against DeGrom. Corbin is, uh, excuse me, against, yeah, they've had 266 against Patrick Corbin, but there's only a couple of guys that have really seen Corbin that are still in the lineup. It's hard to believe that's 6 years ago now, and it really speaks to the amount of turnover you have in Major League Baseball.
Especially lately with some of the starting pitching and some of these crazy trades that have gone on, and
Yep,
it's really, yeah, it's a lot of, it has been a lot of turnover. It has been a lot of
yeah,
turnover.
it's been fun, but it's going to be tough. But if someone said we are in September 2nd and we'll give you a 3-game lead over the Mariners, a 4.5 game lead over the Rangers. Well, you start the season right now. You say you started every time.
Yes. Well, especially considering the injuries and everything that this Astros team has been through when it comes to players, the most turnover of a 40-man roster in the entire league.
Hey,
Still.
one thing we haven't brought up is that Yordan Alvarez quietly has come back and is hitting really well.
Yeah.
It feels like he's still just kind of feeling for it, not
Yeah.
feeling for it in a tentative way, but he's just getting his swings in. He's hitting the ball hard. They said something the other day. He's only hit 2 balls not hard since he's been back.
Man.
And it just feels like he's about ready to explode. And the Astros need him to be that horse that they can ride.
Yep. Yep. Can we also can we also say thank you, Jim Crane, and props to Dana Brown? And I think that it's still just underappreciated what probably the impact Carlos Correa has had
Oh,
on this
yeah.
team. Since coming to the Astros, Carlos Correa is hitting a 320 average, 389 on base percentage, and a 443 slug.
Yeah. And that's throwing in about an 0 for 11 in there
Well,
or
yeah,
something like. I
yeah,
mean, that's now. I mean, considering everybody's going to have a slump, but it's just a presence he gives. You get a presence
yeah,
with him in the clubhouse, Alvarez on the field. Um, Jake's going to be coming back. Melton has been good knowing you, and um,
yeah.
you just like the band's finally getting back together.
It is. It is. It might be some really, really fun September baseball, Wally.
It's always fun September baseball.
Well, it is. It is. But to see this team, man, you're getting your pitchers back, getting your dudes back. Like what we had hoped the whole season would really be for the majority of it, with all these guys here together, living up and playing to the full potential that this team had with what we saw coming into this season. Um, and now with Carlos Correa and Urias and Sanchez, which
God, Urias has been good.
Urias has had a heck of a last week of baseball.
Yeah, I know we're getting close to the end, but one thing I look at this season versus last season. Last season, they ran out of gas towards the end. They were just happy to get there. Y'all, I get the feeling with this team now they're getting people back together, assuming they're able to get into the playoffs and go in with some momentum, that their best days might be ahead of them.
Yeah, yeah, and that's scary. If you're the rest of the league, you're doing a little bit of shaking right now. I think because thinking about the Astros coming back to full health in September, unlike most teams where, look at some of the Rangers stuff. Like, they're losing guys. Guys are popping off right now because they're worn and toast. The Astros are just now starting to come back to full health.
Yeah.
You've got to be a little bit. You better be a little bit scared if you're.
Oh yeah.
The rest of the
Respect,
league, because
it's the respect the Astros have.
it is.
Grudgingly.
And I honestly feel that with a full healthy Astros team, there's probably only two teams in the league that I would be a little bit nervous in the full extent and playing all the way through to the playoffs, and that's the Brewers and the Dodgers. Really.
Well, yeah, the Mariners are always going to scare you because if they're playing right, they've got the pitching and they finally got the bats to do it. The
Especially
Tigers
for
have
a
been
short
good.
series. That's true.
Yeah, Tigers have been good all season. The Blue
See,
Jays
that's a
are
team
there.
that's a team that I see fizzling. I don't know. I just feel like that team, some of those guys have just played so hard. Like the Tigers is a team that I could see having a struggling in September.
Well, we'll see. I mean, they went through it last year. I think the Blue Jays are a team that could and should win the East.
They should,
but I'm still not sold on them.
They've had their hot and cold streaks.
Yep.
It's a team that has lacked consistency for sure, and so I'm with you. But I still think that they win the East for sure.
I think they do.
Yep.
What else?
Man, that's it. I'm ready to whoop up on some Yankees. What are you
That's
thinking?
good. It's good stuff. We'll be there Wednesday night, so I hope you get a
Awesome.
chance to come down and see the games.
Good deal.
Good stuff.
Good deal. Yes, sir. All right. Well, I think that will probably wrap us up for this episode.
And we can get our funk down and get out.
Time for talk. Woo! All right. Until next time, I'm Ryan. That's my man, Wally. Let's go, Astros.
Okay.